Hello everybody, my name is Safi and welcome to Overcoming the Diet Mindset podcast. I am 7 years post-op and a trainee psychotherapist. On this podcast, my aim is to vanish crappy, fad dieting and unhelpful thinking, to reclaim our mindset with a little rewiring so we can stop yo-yo dieting and get off the roller coaster for once and for all. So for my first podcast, I want to review a book that I've been reading, which I believe will be beneficial regardless of what stage of your journey you may be at. Take what works for you and don't worry about the rest. I've been trying not to just consume information passively, but to put it all into practice. I shall share how that is working out for me after part 2 of this review. The book is called GPS for Bariatric Success. A holistic guide to transforming your mindset, achieving sustainable weight loss, and maximizing your well-being. The author is a doctor who's worked with bariatric patients for over a decade, and the book is from her experience, first-hand experience of working with patients who lose tremendous amounts of weight and then the downside of the regains. The first interesting point that she makes is that if there are two people who weigh exactly the same, let's say 100 pounds, however, one of them used to weigh 250 pounds. Oh, I said 100 pounds there, right? No, let's say if they both weighed 150 pounds. Because 100 pounds would be a really sick person. But anyway, so one was 250 pounds and lost 100 pounds. That person who lost weight will have to eat less and burn more than the other person to maintain that weight. Which I think is a sobering fact that after being overweight, your body has adjusted and will fight to remain overweight. If you've never come across Body Set Point, have a quick look on Google. It will give you a good explanation about the science behind why we regain weight. And if you're anything like me and have done several diets, you know you lose a bit and the weight comes back double usually. And I think that's a really good insight to have, that actually is not about anything that you've done or is not a failing on your behalf or a character flaw that you just can't keep weight off. There's biology also at play. The author also points out that there's only 20% of people who keep the weight off long term, regardless of the tools that they use to lose the weight. So whether it's Slimming World, Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, keto, name it, it doesn't matter. And that's also includes bariatric surgery. So that really explains a lot about the fact that people lose weight and then it's just biologically we are rewired to want to gain the weight back. She goes on to explain that keeping off the weight will require one to swim against the norm and fight years of misinformation from the diet industry. So there is some hope. The doctor highlights 4 steps to follow which will lead to long-lasting success. Hooray, there is hope. So number 1 is rewiring your brain, identifying your why, visualization, mindfulness and breath work. So let's recap that. Number 1 is rewiring your brain. Number 2 is identifying your why. Number 3 is visualization. Number 4 is mindfulness and breath work. Let's face it, if you're anything like me, you'll be thinking, what a load of airy-fairy, beep, beep, beep. And that's putting it politely. For example, when I was at my highest weight, the struggle to search for a diet that worked. If somebody came to me and said to me, you need to just visualize the body you want and do some breath work, I would have never believed it. Because at that point, I needed somebody to give me something solid, a formula, a magic plan, a pill, a potion, anything. But somebody saying to me that The power is within. However, I now have brain capacity and knowledge to know the power of our brain and how everything is interconnected and nothing happens in isolation. Therefore, changing my thoughts would have impacted on my feelings, which would have led to less emotional eating and self-sabotage. And another point that she makes is that everything is a habit. Everything we do is habitual. I can never pronounce that word, so bear with. Every decision we make is led by them. Every action we take is led by habit. And so for example, every time you've gone to the supermarket, it's likely that you walk down the same aisle in the same direction, you buy the same food, you automatically get out of bed, you brush your teeth automatically, our route to work. For example, sometime I find myself, I went to pick up my children after school, and my daughter's school is a lot more strict with pick-up time. So I wanted to go to her school and then pick up my son from nursery afterwards. Somehow I found myself standing outside my son's school. So I don't know what happened. I don't know when I decided to take that turn. That was all led by my subconscious. And that's where 90% of our life, I don't know if it's 90%, but quite a huge portion of our life is run by. And it's helpful because imagine every day we had to relearn how to walk. That would be exhausting. She explains that there's also some not so helpful automatic habits and thoughts which we have developed, which are as powerful. Every action triggers an emotion. So, for example, when you weigh yourself in the morning and you see the wrong number or the scale hasn't moved, it usually leads to unhelpful thinking. In my case, freaking out and then eating everything I can find because obviously that diet didn't work. But anyway, sorry, I digress. Automatic thoughts such as I will never lose weight, I am useless. If you've been a yo-yo dieter, this is definitely something that's not new to you. So it's the whole, I will start again on Monday. Your brain has been wired and reinforced with these thoughts and these feelings, and they are deep-rooted. The author likens this to the neural pathways in our brain, that they are the vast network of interconnected highway. Recognizing your thoughts and reframing them is vital. Otherwise, we fall back into old, unhelpful thoughts, and then that leads to regain and redirecting our thoughts, developing supportive inner conversation, which would be something to mitigate against the risk of regain. So if I think about Safi before 2014, what advice? Because I definitely lived a large amount of my life in that part of the brain, the prefrontal, where you know it's there to protect you because it thinks that there is a lion coming to get you, and you're on high alert. And I spent a long time being in that part of my brain, so feeling overwhelmed and constantly wanting an answer and going around in circles, being in chronic stress, in overwhelm. And I'm, when I really think about what that Safi was experiencing, I have a lot of compassion towards her. And I'm grateful for the fact that she didn't give up. But it was exhausting being that Safi. So the advice I would give, and this will land very differently, depending on where you are in your journey, whether you are somebody who's lost a lot of weight and just wants to maintain, or you're somebody currently struggling with regains. Just bear with me. I think what would have really helped me, what I would have needed to hear was, okay, I probably would have not taken that advice, but just to get a piece of paper and dump everything in my brain on that piece of paper, vomit it out, brain dump it, because that would have given me the capacity to think. That would have given me the brain power to even make the slightest of choices which were really difficult, and then led to hours of deliberating whether I would have a healthy lunch or I would just not eat, and then that would lead to my 2 p.m. binges. Move to something that we want. Research has found that we are more motivated about losing something that's precious to us rather than gaining something that's extra. So, for example, the idea of losing your health, the idea of not being around your children, or not being able to do something that you really enjoy, that is a stronger why than, for example, just wanting to have a nice outfit or fit into that pair of jeans. And to be fair, the author does say it doesn't matter. Every individual is different. So fitting into a particular jeans may be something that's really compelling, really important to you. But usually it's about losing something. So the idea of having to go back to size 18 jeans may be your strong why. For me, it's about being able to stay healthy and around for as long as possible for my children. My mother also died because of comorbidities at a young age, and I don't want my children to experience that. So that is my why. So whatever your why is, think about it, write it down, and then bring it to the forefront of your mind. The next point is visualization. So visualization, it's been proven to be really effective, not just in behavioral change around weight loss, but also business. So if you want something, I guess what the law of attraction is around that, isn't it? If you want something, you visualize it, then it will come true. I think you have to take action towards it also. So, for example, in regards to this, if the doctor suggests that we spend a month possibly thinking about what do we look like? So what haircut would we have? What clothes would we wear? How would it feel? Where would we go wearing these things? What would we be able to do? So, for example, I guess visualizing yourself being able to do your shoelaces if that's something you haven't been able to. Visualize yourself on holiday. And so, for example, for me, I'm sorry if this creates a not very nice visual thought in your head, but I used to really struggle with chafing. And on holiday, I would take a pair of tights along with me and I would cut them. And as you can imagine, it was really, really hot. And I would have to wear these tights under my dresses or under my shorts. But it was something that I really worried about a lot. And then I figured out, and I know now there's actually probably science has moved on so much. I'm sure there's some amazing things. But if you get really strong deodorant and you put it between your thighs, it's amazing. Anyway, so that's a tip. So that really changed my life. But so visualize, for example, if I'm visualizing being able to wear what I want, and know that I can walk for a long time or for an extended period of time and not get chafing, that's a strong visualization. That's a strong driver for me to really connect with as the person that I want to become and the person I want to remain as. So visualization, I think also another thing that we do in coaching is you can use vision boards, whether you get the magazine and you cut them out and I guess you can cut out visions of who you want to be and the things you want to do and the things you want to have. Or you could also do it online as well. So just make those emotional connections, let your brain know that's what you want, because that's what it's going to work towards. If you're somebody like me who can't visualize, I actually can't visualize, but I can feel. So just that feeling, and what would I feel like? For another example for me would be every time I go to a shopping center and I'm in a changing room, that had haunted me for years, to the extent that I hated shopping because of changing rooms. The lights are so harsh, it's horrible. Whoever designed it has a first class ticket to hell. I'm only joking. But anyway, I'm sure it was a man. So visualizing all those things, not the negative things, because the brain, if you visualize it, it doesn't know whether it's something you want or don't want. So visualize all the things that you want, and write it out, look at it every day, and then that will recreate that that vision, that your body will know that's what we're working towards. You're giving your brain those cues to work towards those goals. So that's visualization. Now I'm just muffling along. The next one is mindfulness and breath work. So with mindfulness, for a long time, I just thought meditation was something that people do who had too much time on their hands. And I really didn't believe the value in it. I didn't think it was going to be beneficial. But now I see it, I feel it. I don't get me wrong, I'm not somebody who does it consistently. I would love to do it, commit to it more and do it more. But I think it's really supported me in calming my nervous system. So to calming that overwhelming anxiety, just being more present and being able to make more rational decisions rather than be somebody who is led by by whatever feeling. So usually it was a dog, I was just being led on a lead by my emotions, and I was bouncing about, whatever direction, regardless, whether I had a phone call with my boss and then that would lead me that way, or I would have a nice conversation with let's just say my sister, and that would direct how I felt and how I reacted. And then ultimately, if I ended up emotional eating. Going back to mindfulness, I'm a very busy mom of two. I don't have very much time. But the way I try to do it is at the end of the night, or when I'm doing bedtime and they've fallen asleep, I just lay next to them and put my earphones in. There's an array of videos on YouTube around different types, so you can do it for whether your anxiety, whatever. There's a huge catalogue of videos. So I try to do that, even if it's for a minute, just to realize what is going on with my body, drop into my body, and I'm finding it really helpful. But I haven't been doing it for long enough to have that, to know for a fact that it's the meditation that's helping me. Breath work has also been something else that I've been utilizing. As somebody who's struggled with anxiety and panic attacks, I use it quite often. There's a really good one by Wim Hof. I can never pronounce his name. I'm sorry if you ever listen to this podcast, but it's amazing. It requires a lot of that one. You would have to be by yourself because there's a lot of deep breathing and a lot of spit at times. But it's really good and it really calms your nervous system. There is a name for it, and actually I'll put it on the show notes. It slips my mind, but that is really, really, really helpful. And I really invite you to give that a go if you're feeling overwhelmed. So that is your three main things that you could do to rewire, and that's what she says. So if if you give those 3 a go, and let's face it, nothing happens overnight. And if you're somebody like me who's used to lose 6 stones in 3 weeks, or, there's magazines that I don't want to age myself. But if you're somebody who bought a magazine and hoped to do a diet to drop a stone in 4 weeks, and a stone in 4 weeks is quite reasonable. Well, it's not reasonable, but it's not as extreme as I've seen before or I've fallen for. So try to do those things. They're going to feel clumsy and it's going to feel unnatural. It's going to feel a bit possibly woo-woo-y. That's a new word that I've learned. But just give that a go. And some people sometimes also go for a walk and use that time to not have anything in. For example, I used to love always having something in my ear. So whether it's a podcast, music, but now I try to take, at least half of the walk just with just my thoughts and watch them come and go, see see if there's a pattern, and then just getting to know myself. So I think that'd be really helpful. Rewiring the brain isn't going to be easy, but it can be done with the hard work and consistency. Find your deep held why, and I think that will go some way into combating those struggles that we've been used to. So I think that's enough for this podcast. I hope you found it helpful. Please connect with me on Instagram at Gastric Mindset. And I would just like to make a disclaimer that this is not in replacement of therapy. I'm not a fully qualified therapist. This is just about psychoeducational material that I hope will be helpful for somebody. I definitely think if you can access psychology, a therapist, please do. I know it's difficult, especially in this day and age. But if you're in England or Scotland or the UK, you can always go to your GP and have some talking therapy. We're all entitled to it, and I recommend it. So that's my disclaimer. I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to see you next week. Take care. I appreciate you for being here with me. I hope you got some value from this episode. If so, please give me a review. It will make me super happy and support others from our community to find the podcast. Share it with your Bari bestie. Connect with me on Instagram at Gastric Mindset. It'll be wonderful to hear from you.